Ali Sahebi. He is the person that is responsible for starting WGI Iran. He's also the person who has translated Glasser's books into Farsi. He's been a senior faculty member since 2013, and he has trained mostly clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, and counselors in Iran. And he also has some programs that they have developed in Iran to speak to the general population on just regular mental health as well as relationships. So Ali, I'm really grateful that you agreed to do this presentation for us. And you see you have some new faces and some faces you've known from way back when here to hear your wisdom. So thank you so much for being with us. And for those of you who are here, you need to know that we're going to listen to Ali for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to discuss for 30 minutes, and then we're going to come back and have some questions for him and discuss our discussions. So Ali, if you're ready, I'll give you screen share. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, do you have my screen now?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Okay, share it.
There it is. It's coming.
Yes.
Here we
Okay.
go.
Great. Let me just
Slideshow mode.
just leave my own clock just to let me know that what time is it, and then say to manage my own time this time. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm going just to briefly to discuss about different schools of psychotherapy or different approaches. I'm going to talk about the Albert Ellis, and Aaron Bex, and Martin Seligman, and Jeffrey Young, and Lehan, Marshall Lehan's approach on psychotherapy, and how they see the psychopathology, what's their case formulation, and how they treat people compared to reality therapy, and what components we are sharing with them. And in the end, if I find the time, so I'm going just to talk about a new approach that the major approaches in psychotherapy now thinking about the need for a new approach in mental health, which they call process oriented approach. And they introduce 17 components that any evidence-based approach which is validated and is effective. They need to have 17 components, and then I'm going just to talk about that and leave that with you to see that if we as a reality therapist we can find some components in the reality therapy. Okay, let's start with rational emotive behavioral therapy first.
Ali, it's
yes?
Kim. I'm sorry. Can you put that in slideshow mode for us to see it better?
Which one? The is that better?
So, yes.
Okay. Okay, let's start with Albert Ellis. Albert Ellis first demonstrated rational emotive therapy in 1958, and then later on he changed the name of his approach from rational emotive therapy to rational emotive behavioral therapy. And the main goal for him was to maximize pleasure and minimize the pain. So he was really active and very productive in the field of psychology. That's why IPA introduced him as the most influential psychotherapist of the century. He was charismatic with a high profile and very controversial figure. So he was the first person who bravely really introduced the new idea against Freud's idea. And he was so strong on philosophy and and methodology to be able to stay against the strong movement of psychoanalysis. So the main components of his theory, which is the personality theory of rational emotive behavior therapy, is what we call ABC. He believed that activating events are not able to bring some psychological disturbances to the person. So A's or activating events never ever are able to create any psychopathology. So he means that environmental factors and external factors are not the responsible factors or the variable which cause psychological issues. He believed that activating events must go to your belief system, and then the person interprets the event or the stimulus. Then, based on the interpretation of the person, then the emotional consequences will appear. That's why he says that A never goes to C. A needs go to the B, and B is a process. It's your belief system, and it's your thinking style that creates the consequence, the emotional consequences, depression and anger, panic, phobia, and anxiety. All of them happens with what you are interpreting the event or the situation. So psychology occurs from the Albert Ellis's point of view when irrational beliefs cause emotional consequences and not the activating events or the external events. And psychopathology always explained by A, B, C and not A, C. A never ever can cause to any C. So if I want to simplify the model of Albert Ellis, it shows like this. He said that the mother or the main gateway of any psychological disturbances is something inside the belief system of the person, which he called the demandingness. When people are demanding from themselves, from others, and from the world, so they are interpreting all the time the events and the external factors in the way which cause them depression or aggression or panic, phobia, and anxiety, whatever you call as a psychological disturbances. But he says that how demandingness can cause to psychological disturbances. He introduces three components or subcomponents of the demandingness. So demandingness means when people facing the external world, they always demand the external world be in the way which they want it to be. So that's why always when they are not getting what they really want from external world, they awfulizing the situation. They interpret the situation in a catastrophic way. So awfulizing or catastrophizing is one of the concepts that he introduces. So awfulizing, low frustration tolerance, and global evaluation of wars are the main three subdomains that cause psychological disturbances. For example, he says that the person thinks like this: I must be perfect in any things that I do to get the respect of all the people around me. If not, it's awful I can't tolerate it, and I am a rotten person. So that's the three statements he's using in one shot, and that goes to depression. Or when the person say that others must approve me or must treat me in a fair way. If not, it's awful, and I can't tolerate it. And they are bad people, and I have to teach them how to treat me. So this is what he called that as a masturbation. Masturbation means that the people always think in a must way. I must, others was, the life must, and that's the main cause of psychopathology. So he introduces the therapeutic process as the consciousness raising. So the clients need to be aware of the rational thinking pattern, that authorizing is a rational thinking, low frustration tolerance thinking, that I can't tolerate it. And he always say that why you can't tolerate it. So it's not end of the world. It's not killing you. Everybody can tolerate. And when you are rating yourself or others that I am a rotten person, and say that because you are not successful in one situation, does it mean that you are a rotten person? You are a worthless person. So that's an irrational thinking pattern. And he also said that contingency management or rearranging reinforcement thinking support the behavior change, and counter conditioning, which replacing irrational thinking with rational thinking. That's the main strategies that he is using. So the therapeutic content of rational emotive behavior therapy is intrapersonal conflict, anxiety, self-esteem, responsibility, hostility, control. And when we are thinking deeply in the concepts of rational emotive behavior therapy and the strategies that he's using to help people to change the pattern of irrational beliefs or irrational thinking, we can see that on the blue chart of choice theory, we have all those components, but in another style, or we call it in different names. Let's just see another approach which is very close to Albert Ellis, and some part of that is exactly the same as Albert Ellis says. And we believe in CBT community that all the CBT is coming out from the Albert Ellis's ideas, but they expanded, and sometimes they did lots of research on that. Cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT, which created by Beck on around 70s, and originally trained in psychoanalysis, which Glasser and Albert Ellis, they trained in the same tradition, and approach heavily rooted in empiricism. So he was always thinking about empiricism, and without experimenting, never ever accept anything from anyone. Developed popular instruments. Well, now we have lots of instruments in psychology, which created with the CBT movement. Two of them very popular by Beck: anxiety inventory and depression inventory. So although the Albert Ellis and Beck did not collaborate, but the approaches are very similar, and they believe that the philosophical basement, or the foundation of the philosophical foundation of their approach is the Stoic philosophy, and they use it a lot. So the cognitive therapies theory of psychopathology is similar to rational emotive behavior therapies theory. They believe that maladaptive cognitions and dysfunctional attitudes cause psychopathology. Underlying cognitions vary specifically with the disorder. So cognitive specificity and dysfunctional beliefs, which are not irrational per se, but too absolute, too broad, and too arbitrary. And in cognitive therapy, we believe that schemas, or what they call the core beliefs or schemas, can be as a main factors that create irrational beliefs and irrational feelings and irrational actings. So they are the cognitive organizations which organizing all the thinking and acting of the person. Beck introduces a cognitive triangle, which says that all the people who are suffering from depression or anxiety, they are living inside a triangle which three parts. So one part is the negative thinking about themselves, negative thinking about others, and negative thinking about future. So for them, all the things which happening in the world, all the events are interpreted negatively, and they see themselves as negatively. Always they say about themselves some negative things, negative self-talk, negative interpretation of themselves, and they always see the future dark. So that's the main cause of maladaptive self-verbalization or self-talk, and that's the main cause of depression. So the therapeutic process in cognitive therapy is helping people to be aware of their own thinking, irrational thinking, and also dysfunctional beliefs, recognizing what thoughts are array and substitute accurate for inaccurate thoughts. So in cognitive therapy, always the psychopathology raised from the irrational beliefs and irrational thinking, or we call that as a distorted thinking or distorted thoughts, which we call them as overgeneralizing, jumping to the conclusion, and selective attention. So all these, which are 12 of thinking distortions or distorted thoughts, they are the main gateway of psychopathology. There are three main questions in cognitive therapy, which we call the questions for cognitive restructuring. The first thing is that when the person is talking about his beliefs or his interpretation about an event, for example, in her relationship or in her workplace, or what she's thinking about herself. So always the main question is that, what is the evidence? Is that your thinking, or there is evidence outside? What is the evidence? And the second question, which is really, really helpful, and it's a backup for the first question, is that what is another way of looking at it? Or what is the alternative explanation? So what else? And the third question is that, so if you have your own evidence and all the evidences are valid, so what if it happens? What can you do to minimize your own costs? What can you do right now to prevent the problem that you are predicting right now? And that's the main thing, that helping people to restructure their thinking. So in cognitive therapy, collaborative empiricism, as I mentioned before, is the the main components of the process. Shared mission to identify dysfunctional thoughts and pursue better ones, finding more rational thoughts. And in this process, client is an active partner. So the Socratic questioning is the main element here. And as we are using in choice theory, reality therapy, the Socratic questioning. Therapists provide support and directions. However, empathy or the relationship is not sufficient. It's a very, very superficial. And therapist engenders responsible dependency in the clients. Now, let's go to the third generation of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is schemotherapy. Jeffrey Young was the student of Aaron Beck, and he was working in the Beck's Institute as a cognitive therapist. But one day he came back to Beck and said that it doesn't work. And it doesn't work is a very, very interesting statement. Glasser went to Carrington, to Professor Harrington, and when he said that, Glasser, what's going on? He said that it doesn't work, and say that what doesn't work? He said the way that you are telling us to treat the patients, it doesn't work. And then he's asking Glasser that what works, and said, I don't know, what you are teaching us, it doesn't work really. And now here it doesn't work, repeated again. And Jeffrey Young says to Beck that challenging the negative or irrational thinking of the clients doesn't work for the people with personality disorder. So with that doesn't work, the schemotherapy emerged. Schemotherapy is an integrative therapeutic approach. Young's motivation in developing schemotherapy was as an attempt to address the needs of those for whom cognitive behavioral therapy was not effective, and that was the people with a serious mental illness or mainly personality disorder. So it has its theoretical roots firmly embedded in attachment theory from one way, and its main premises begin that personality pathology develops from unmet needs, psychological needs in childhood, which leading to the development of early maladaptive schema, as we call it EMS. So EMS rooted in unmet core needs, which he introduces the needs as a 6 needs, which if we look at the needs, so they are exactly the same now, 5 basic needs which Glasser introduces, but with different names, and says that people who are not able or were not able to satisfy their core emotional needs in childhood, they developed some maladaptive schemas, and now the maladaptive schemas as the same as a vehicle running their lives. So he combined some aspects of cognitive behavioral therapy, some part of psychodynamic attachment theory and Gestalt models, and created a schema-focused therapy, and considers itself to be a truly integrative model, which continues to evolve as its use internationally growing. So in any country, we are witnessing that lots of people using schemotherapy for personality disorder. The goal of the therapy is to reorganize this inner structure or maladaptive schemas. And he says that there are 4 core mechanisms of change that are used in this therapy. One is limited reparenting, which is just creating a good relationship, need satisfying relationship, secure relationship, supportive relationship. Number two, experiential imagery and dialogue work, which means that the person inside of his own visualization, he or she is talking to the person who caused to some pains or injuries, or the person who neglected during the childhood, the person. Number three is cognitive restructuring and education, which utilizing the cognitive therapies strategies, and behavioral pattern breaking. In here, we can see that some components of schema focused therapy are existed in reality therapy. The main issue here is that he says that when the inner structures or schemas developed, they automatically run the thinking and acting pattern of the person in adulthood life. But he says that you are not the prisoners of the schema. You develop the schema because your parents or caregivers never pay attention to you to meet your basic psychological needs. But now it's your choice. You can still run the car or sit in the back in the back seat of the car and let the schema run your vehicle, or you can choose to sit in front of the car and you run your own car. So it's your choice. So it means that you are not the prisoner of the schemas, and you don't need really a person who analyzes your life and break the pattern. It's up to you. You need to be aware of your schema and then try some other patterns which are opposite to your current patterns to break it. That's why he says that we are using three phases of treatment. One is bonding and emotional regulation. Bonding. So it's again the relationship, connectedness. Number two is schema mode change, which how you can change the mentality of the person from being a victim of the schema or the parents and change it to the new mood, which is I am active and I am the driver of my own life. And the third phase is developing the autonomy from the schemas, and autonomy or having freedom to choose whatever you want to live with. Now let's go to the DBT. DBT introduces by Marshall Linehan, and originally developed to treat chronically suicidal clients, which mainly they are people with borderline personality disorder, and found to be effective for suicidal clients with multiple other co-occurring behavioral problems. So lots of people who are suffering from personality disorders, specifically borderlines, and also the other types of personality disorders. And Linehan was a CBT therapist again, and he said that CBT didn't work for clients with chronic suicidality and borderline personality disorder. So that's why he mentioned that we need a new approach. And with lots of research, she showed that DBT has been found to reduce suicidality, parasuicidal behavior, treatment dropouts, hospitalization, substance abuse, as well as depression and hopelessness and anger problem. So lots of programs with the anger management issues, they are working with DBT. So Linehan, she believes that in personality disorders, the people suffering because they have some dysregulations in different areas. Number one is emotional dysregulation. Number two is interpersonal dysregulation, or they can't really create or develop a relationship and maintain the relationship. So always they have some interpersonal issues. And one of the main features of the people with DBT and with a serious and chronic psychological issues is interpersonal problems, as well as behavioral dysregulations. They are not able to show effective behaviors or to act in the way which they can achieve what they really want. So they have lots of dysregulations. And then they have identity dysregulations as well as cognitive dysregulations. So for treatment, she introduces 4 stages, and she believes that if the people with chronic issues or borderline personality disorder or suicidality, they learn 4 skills, they are able to lead their own lives in a healthy manner. One is distress tolerance. They are not able to tolerate frustration. Whenever they get frustrated, so they are acting in a very bad and self-destructive and other destructive manner. So because they never ever learn that they can't really achieve whatever they want at any time. So we need to teach them how to tolerate the distress as well as frustration. Number 2 is emotional regulation. When they are getting angry or sad, they are not able to regulate it, and that's why the emotions are running them. So in choice theory language, they are sitting in the back seat of their car and leave the front wheels to go any way which they want. And in the end of the event, they just think that, wow, what I did, why I did this. So they have a problem with emotional regulations. It means that they are not able to think in a clear way. And then everything, they call the emotional regulation and dysregulation as an accident in a very dirty road when there is a big accident. So plenty of deaths in the front of the eyes of the person. It's not clear really. It's a very muggy, and the person is not clear what to do. So he or she is trying hard to get what she wants, but because she's not clear and she can't see in front of herself, so that's why she's doing lots of mistakes. So emotional regulation techniques are very, very important here. So in choice theory language, so we need to teach the person, please come out of the back door of your car, sit in front seat, in the driver's seat, and put your hands on the steering wheel and see that where do you really, really want to go. So we need just to help people to regulate their emotions. Number 3, the skill which is really important is interpersonal effectiveness or the relationship. So they are not able to develop good relationships, and they are not able to maintain their relationships because of low frustration tolerance or not being able to tolerate the frustration and distress. They are messing up with the people around them. They make lots of mistakes, and they hurt the people who they need the most. That's why they need to learn interpersonal skills, how to create and develop relationship and how to maintain your relationship. And the 4th skill is mindfulness. Mindfulness means pay clear attention to what is happening inside you and what is happening outside, without being all the time inside your mind. So the main very, very simple explanation or definition of mindfulness is get out of your mind and pay attention to what is happening right now inside you and outside. So be an observer. Be an observer. So that's the main four things which they are using in DBT. So distress, tolerance, how to get through a crisis without making things worse. Emotional regulation, how to understand emotions, change ineffective emotions, and be less vulnerable to negative emotions. Interpersonal effectiveness, how to get your needs met while maintaining your relationship and self-respect. So if you look at the behavioral card in the blue chart, so we are teaching people all this, how to get through a crisis with making things without making things worse. What do I really want? What I'm getting right now, and what the system tells me to do right now. What am I getting what I want if I do this or no? And how to regulate your emotions. So again, emotions are the backwheels of our car. And then we can just teach the people to understand the emotions. Where is the emotion? How we create emotions inside us. Emotions are not independently. In all the models of cognitive behavioral therapies, in Elise's approach, in Beck's approach, in schema-focused therapy, and in DBT, and in ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, emotions are not creating by events or by stimulus. Stimulus needs to be evaluated and then emotions emerging and coming out. So we are teaching them how to think in a different way, then you can experience different emotions. So, and interpersonal, so we are using relationship as the main gateway of psychopathology in choice theory. And always we are teaching people, if you want to be happy, you need to be able to get along well with people dear and near to you, and with avoiding from deadly habits, and using the positive habits or connecting habits. So we have to teach them, and here they are teaching them the connecting habits and disconnecting habits. And mindfulness, how to pay attention to the present moment without judging and rejecting, or without attachment, or without fusing with the thoughts. So always evaluate. And we are asking always in choice theory and reality therapy to self-evaluate the thinking and self-evaluate your own acting. And always you are asking people to self-evaluate their quality pictures. So is the quality picture, if what you want is realistic, is it useful for you? If you approach your want or your quality picture, is that helping people around you or hurting them? So that's why we are always asking them to be mindful about their actions, their wants, their perception, and their plans. So let me just go. I think that yeah, I'm very close to finish my time, but I need to discuss something here, and then I think that before Kim just let me know that I've finished. I have to explain this to you, because we are going all the modern approaches now thinking going towards new therapy. The new therapy, which all major approaches are sharing some components of that, and how we can go from the different approaches in psychotherapy and in counseling to one as an integrative approach. And that's why they say that we need to move towards integration. If we look at all the approaches from Albert Ellis to Glasser, and in between we have positive psychology, we have acceptance and commitment therapy, we have DBT, we have exposure therapy, we have cognitive therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, schema therapy. So all of them, they have some shared components, and they are doing sometimes the same thing, very similar things, but in different way. So that's why if our mutual goal is moving the science and practice of clinical intervention forward, then we need just to redirect the wheels to be able to focus on core therapeutic processes. It means paving the way to the future of psychotherapy. So that's why if the moving towards integration is one of the main goals of all the approaches that working on the mental health area, that can help set the stage for a new era of process-based therapy that will move the field beyond its era of silence. So towards an era of scientific process that will positively impact the lives of those we serve in all the communities, all languages, all nations. So we predict the results will be positive. And if so, I hope the field of psychotherapy will take heed. And I think that will be happening. So we call this the new direction as a process-based therapy. In choice theory and reality therapy, we always say that we have three main features. So reality therapy have three main features which differentiated reality therapy from other approaches. The number one is that it's a solution focused and not problem focused. Number two is the process oriented and not technique oriented. So it's a process oriented. So we always are following the process. It doesn't matter if the person is distressed or depression or panic or phobic or has a problem with stabbing or anxiety. So we are following always the process. What do you really want? What are you doing to get what you want? Is it helping? And what else can you do? So always we are utilizing the process. So and the third one is that reality therapy is based on self-evaluation and not the therapist or counselor's evaluation of the person's thinking or acting or belief system. So always we are inviting person to do the self-evaluation, because in reality therapy, self-evaluation is the gateway of change and not my evaluation or the therapist's evaluation. So process-based therapy. What's the domains and principles? This is what Hoffman and Stephen Hayes introduces, and they say that the key domains of the process-based therapy are as follows. Behavioral principle means that the process-based therapy needs to understand the learning theory, cognitions, emotions, the therapeutic relationship, utilizing the findings of neuroscience and evolution science. Look at these key domains. So how we can see these domains in reality therapy? So we are using behavioral principles, the behavioral vehicles. All behaviors have four components: acting, thinking, physiology, and feelings. Thinking, acting, physiology, and feelings. So we are following the behavioral principles. We are using the front wheel as a cognition, thinking wheel, cognition, emotion as a back wheel, So we pay attention to that. The foundation of the intervention in reality therapy is therapeutic relationship. And Glasser always say that if there is a one differences between my approach and other approaches is that in other approaches, relationship or therapeutic relationship is one of the main components of the therapy. But in my approach, it's the foundation of intervention. It's the basic, not just one component amongst the other components. It's the basic, the fundamental part. Neuroscience. So we are paying attention to all the findings of neuroscience. We pay attention and we are utilizing all the findings. For example, when we are trying just to reinvent the new behavioral car, we pay attention to the limbic system. We recognize the limbic system and how the limbic system is regulating the emotions, and with organizing, reorganizing behaviors, and with creative behaviors in the behavioral system, we are utilizing all the neurosciences findings, and we can utilize it. So the new findings as well. So there is no problem at all, and no shortcoming in the theory that we are not able to use it. And evolution science, still we say that the basic needs are genetic, and we are talking about the genetics as the new genetic or the epigenetics now says that all the genes are changeable, or the presentation of them are changeable. That's why we are utilizing the evolution science as well. So now let me just summarize it and then go to the group and to discuss this process oriented or process based therapy have 17 key competencies. And now the people who are introducing this model, they believe that every approach, scientific approach, which claims that is able to provide technique, strategies, and theory for change, they need to have these 17 competencies. Number one, contingency management, stimulus control, shaping, self-management, arousal reduction, coping and emotion regulation, problem-solving strategies, exposure strategies, behavioral activation techniques, interpersonal skills, cognitive reappraisal, modifying core beliefs, diffusion or distancing from your thoughts and your feelings, enhancing psychological acceptance, values, mindfulness, and integrative approaches, motivational strategies, and crisis management. Now, the question is that if we look at all these 17 competencies, and they believe that if there are some approaches that they claim that they are helpful and useful and effective in change, but if they don't have these 17 key components or most of them, so they are not going to survive in the new generations of psychotherapy. So these are the main things which, based on the research, so all the approaches that helping people to change, they have to have most of these 17, if not all of them. Now the question is that if we examine the reality therapy components against all these 17, what can we say about the reality therapy, and how we can show that yes, we are using these 17, and we have these 17, or some of them, 15 or 10 of them. So it depends that how you are explaining the reality therapy components and how you are interpreting the blue chart for yourself. So I finished right now, and then I'll let you know. Let you just go to your own rooms and just discuss. Maybe I don't know in one, or it's up to Kim that if they go in one room or two rooms, and then we will discuss again about the questions you have got, or about your discussion regarding the 17 key competencies.
Okay, so let me suggest that you either take a screenshot or a photo of this slide, and then in a few seconds, I'll have Ali put up the second slide that has number 11 to 17, and you can take a picture of that so you can discuss it in your groups. We will have about 24 minutes to discuss in groups, and that will leave us with 10 minutes to do questions follow-up. So I will get you ready for the groups. Okay, so everybody's back. I think that's coming back. I got some people that had to go to work, and people hung in for as long as they could, but now we have about 13 minutes left to do any questions that you might have for Ali. If you want to raise your hand with the reaction button underneath, you can do this like I just did. See in the upper left-hand corner, it's under reactions. I'm gonna put my hand down now, or you can just raise your hand like this and we'll take questions in order. And it doesn't have to be a question. It could just be a summary of what your group talked about as well. Okay, Dr. Al-Samari.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Ali.
Hello.
Hi. Good to meet, to see you today, and good lecture. And yeah, actually, as I said, I'm very interested in these similarities between, different theories, to help my clients, which is the parent for student or people with disabilities. This is what I have. Sometimes I found myself in this situation. I would like to pick something from William Glasser theory, because I feel, or this is the truth, there is something missing. They need something. So I would like to work with this patient or with this client with William Glasser theory. And during this, like the second, third session, I also, noticed that I could do something with cognitive CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So because there's some like confusion, ideas, thoughts. So I need to work from this side. Some of my colleagues, when I, discussed this with them, they said, it's the wrong thing to do. You need to stick with one theory, with one school to work with your client. That's it, period. So what do you think? So is it okay? Or I need to just, follow, transcript, and do it as, like this school rules, or no, or I can do mix.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me just explain from the supervision perspective. So, because I'm supervising clinical psychologists for years, we always recommend them not to jump to different theories or approaches. First, stick with one theory, any theory or any approach which is very close to your personality, with your character. You like it, and you love the idea and the value system of yourself, belief system of yourself, how you are interpreting the nature of human being. And so just choose one theory. But that's why all the psychologists and counselors, they have one course as theories of psychotherapy and counseling, just to read all of them and to see that which one is closer to your own personality and you interested. Then choose one approach, get supervision, and be very skilled in that area, and work in that approach for minimum 5 years to be really, really expert in that area. And then next, after 5 or 6 years, you can go to learn the other approach, which is close the philosophically and from the theoretical point of view, they are sharing something. You can't really use choice theory or Glasser, which is internal control psychology, and believe that people are motivating from inside with Skinner, which believed that give me 5 people, I create whatever I want, and he was wrong. He couldn't change anything at all, and that's why ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy, DBT, and also CBT just coming out from Skinner, and they believe that Skinner was not really right. So he always talk about that, because you are working in a disability area. So it's good to just read Alfie Kohn's book, Punishment by Reward, Punish by Reward. So he invited Skinner to his classroom and said that please teach them whatever you want to teach, and to see that if you can. So, and then Alfie Kohn in that book explained that how Skinner's idea in the classroom didn't work, and that's why he just he moved from external control psychology, Alfie Kohn, to internal control psychology. But still, if you want to stick to external control psychology, it doesn't matter. There are plenty of approaches that following Skinner right now, but in the modern way. So you are able to use Skinner, but not you are not able to use Glasser, or you are not also able to use the compassion focused therapy as well as DBT, because they are not in the same area theoretically and philosophically, because they believe that human beings are choosing their own behavior. They believe that human beings motivating from inside to outside, and they have a value system inside themselves, so they are finding their own direction. So but if you are interested in an idea of a Skinner or any behavioral approach, classic behavioral or the instrumental approach, then you need to find other approaches which are closer to Skinner, and they explain human being in the way which Skinner explain it. So, but mixing now, it's giving you wrong way, and you are using the mixed way, which lots of people, when they are not expert in one area, or when they don't have enough skill in one approach, they try just to choose to pick one from this approach, one from that approach, and that confuses you, because all the approaches, they have their own map, their own map of intervention, map of change, and you need to always consult with your map. What can I do right now with this client? And that map is always enough. So some people, for example, in Iran, they say that some people who never ever had any supervision and not really trained clinically, they say to the students that, oh, one approach is not good enough. You need to know, or you need to work with 5 approaches. And my question always is that, was Freud skilled in 5 approaches? And Albert Ellis and Beck and Glasser and Lazarus, all of them, look at the pioneers and look at the skilled psychotherapists in the world. They know just one approach, but in the deep way, and they are practicing. Stephen Hayes doesn't know anything about psychoanalysis. He doesn't know anything, but he's a very, very good therapist in ACT, because he knows ACT. Martin Seligman doesn't know anything about the other approaches, but he knows just positive psychology. So that's why you need just to learn one approach and deepen your own knowledge and skills in one approach, any approach which is closer to your personality.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank you.
I see Liz Tam has her hand up.
Yes, Dr. Ali, you mentioned several approaches. Are they all under the cognitive approach banner? Okay.
That's right. They are under
Yes.
the umbrella of the
Of-
CBT.
Correct. Then where would transactional analysis, is it not cognitive also?
No, it's not. It comes from the from psychodynamic.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and that's not a theory. That's why I'm not using here. So if I want to expand it, still transactional analysis and solution focus, they are not going to be compared with this because they are just model. They are not a theory because they don't have any philosophical foundation, and they don't have a theory, a holistic theory or integrative theory about human being. So they are just models of intervention.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you. We had a great conversation about that in our last session, models and theories, which you'll be able to see in the video if you want to watch that later. Lynn, I see you have your hand up.
So Ali, in our group, the question was, with the 17 indicators or whatever of a process perspective, is that the direction that you see everything going? And because there's so much language in that, what it means. And I was just going through the list and saying, well, I don't understand what this means or this means, like, but could you just put it in perspective of, is that where you think things are going? That unless approaches are process oriented and meeting most of those criteria, they're not going to survive, or what?
They say that if we need just to go towards a one integrative approach, and this is what the pioneers of psychotherapy right now thinking, that while we are going in a different ways and avenue, we can just think about a one integrative approach. And so then they think that, so what's the main competencies of a process-based approach? And they listed just 17 competencies, and they say that all these 17s, they are the whole things that we need. But some approaches right now, they have 10 of these, some of them 12 of these, some of them none of these. So the ones which has no competency or maybe less competency, they are not going to survive in the long run. So maybe some people just reading some part of that, but not research going on that area, and they are not able to really help people to change. But if one theory has most of them, or 17 from 17, so it means that it's a very, very strong approach, and they are going just to expand themselves, and always in the future they are going to have a better chance for the new students to come and learn it. So I just looked at the reality therapy because, so that my background is CBT, so I know all of these. And then I saw that in reality therapy, we are covering all the 17 components in reality therapy, but with the different languages. For example, the number 17, motivational strategies and crisis management. So when we are facing with involuntary clients or resistant clients, when as a teacher you are working in the school or as a school counselor, and a student coming to you and you say that, what's going on? Why you are here? So I don't know, Lynn. My teacher just sent me here, so I don't know. It's not my problem. I don't have any problem. And you are utilizing the relationship first. You are, as a reality therapist, establishing the environment and need satisfying environment for the person. And then you ask some questions not related to the problem, but related to the person, and motivating this person just to come out of himself and feel close to you and talk about the problem later on, maybe in session 2 or 3. So motivational strategies, all the strategies that you are using just to break the resistance of the client. So we are using that one in choice theory and reality therapy. That's why Glasser says that when the people coming to you or sending to you by another person, don't do the intervention as soon as possible. Just have a chat with the person and create the need satisfying environment for the person, and later on we go to the intervention. So, or mindfulness and integrative approaches. So mindfulness, so we always say that whenever you want to go to get what you want, ask yourself, is that helpful for me or not? If I get what I want, so am I going to hurt other people or no? Or what sometimes we say that if I say this or if I do this, am I going to be closer to you or further apart? So just be mindful. So that's another component of therapy. So mindfulness and practicing mindfulness is a one competency. The people need to be aware of their thinking, their feeling, their physiology, and whatever is happening around them. So that's why people are able to diffuse themselves from thoughts and physiology and feelings and private experiences. So are we using any technique or any strategy to help people to be mindful about their thinking and acting? Or not?
So it really gets down to how you understand those words, because
Yes.
yeah, so it's very interpretive, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I didn't want to bring our own wording here. I wanted just to show what they say. This is exactly what they listed. So, but we can just, bring the definition of that as well. But I have just 30 minutes for
Yeah, I know.
for presentation, and that was not really good enough. As Kim said, I prepared around 2 or 3 hours presentation, and I deleted some of my slides from the morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Ali,
clearly.
did you have your hand up?
Wesley has his up. Oh, Kalika has hers up as well. I also am aware that we're at the end of our time and it's 2:30 for Ali. So I want to check with you. Do you
That's
want to
all right.
take these questions or do you
No,
want me to
that's
have
all
them
right. That's all
email
right.
you?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Now let's just do it.
All right. So let me start with
Kalika.
Wes,
Oh,
and
but
then
Wes, okay.
Kalika, I'll come to you.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Ali, this is Wes Hartman. I'm very fascinated with the process-based, the 17 competencies. Is there a document where it aligns choice theory to the 17 competencies?
Now it's I just presented in the International Congress for integrative approach, and the only person who is working with them is at this stage, as far as I know, it's myself, and then I am just developing a document to submit. But I presented several times that and I showed them that how reality therapy covers this 17.
Okay, is there a way I could maybe get a copy of that presentation, or?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir.
No worries.
Okay, Kalika.
So, hi, Ali.
Hello, Kalika. How are you?
I'm good. And as I know you work at the speed of light, my question would be, I know you've already documented this. What would you see as the next steps for Glasser International or MOs in terms of, using this information or working together with you, because it's just so inspirational?
This is always my thinking that we need just to be more active to show to other approaches that we are evidence-based and what we practice is really scientifically approved. And so we are always and using lots of competencies which the other approach is using. As you know, Albert Ellis and Glasser, they did not really interested in doing lots of research or just doing research. They were really, thinker, very good thinker. And I think that so when we are practicing this in the academic environment, they always challenge us that what's the evidence and how you can prove that you are utilizing this one. So that's why I try just to share my idea with them that this is the competencies and what we do in the reality therapy. And I think that if we are in the research committee, always I can just provide some the main articles that Hoffman and Stephen Hayes provided, and they talk about this, that the other approaches can just come and we work together about the process based approach to be integrative and to compassionately to see to each other and to work with each other in the compassionate way and not in the competition way. I think that we can work on the research committee or any other committees, and then to be able to document it and to discuss in a very systematic way, and not just my thinking or just what I can find in the documents or in Glasser's books or in other researches that we are doing. For example, in the last 2 years, we did around 25 PhD and master's theses in Iran, and all of them just focus on the reality therapy and choice theory components to validate the concepts or with the research. So I think that that's another things that we can discuss in the research committee or any other committees.
Are you on that committee, Ali?
Yes, I am.
I thought I was
Excellent.
hoping that would be the answer. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. So I think that's everybody's questions. If I'm correct, it is 2:38 a.m. for Ali. I want, on behalf of WGI's training committee, I really want to thank you for a brilliant presentation that I know could have gone on for a full day, I'm sure. And I'm very sorry to hold you to 30 minutes. You know, I let you go a little longer this time because I knew
That's all right.
I knew where you were going to go. So I'm sure if people want to come off of mute and just thank you themselves. You have a couple of notes here in the chat from people thanking you already. So
No worries.
I want to let you go to bed and just say thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
much, Ali.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ali. That was great. Bye,
Thanks.
everyone.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Good
Bye.
night. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.